My name is Callie Merritt. And I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. I'm not someone who holds grudges. I was raised in church. I believe in grace, in second chances, in giving people the benefit of the doubt even when it costs you. But there's a difference between forgiveness and letting people convince you that what happened to you never happened at all. That's the part I'm still learning. I grew up in Clarksburg, West Virginia, in a beige split-level house at the end of a cul-de-sac. My parents, Linda and Dale Merritt, were the kind of people who had nice things and liked everyone to know it. Dale coached Little League. Linda organized the neighborhood 4th of July cookout every year and brought homemade potato salad that people always said was the best they'd ever had. From the outside, we looked like a Hallmark movie. From the inside, I spent 16 years wondering if I was accidentally born into the wrong family. My sister Bryn is 3 years younger than me. She was born with this bright, magnetic energy that seemed to just naturally draw my parents in, like moths to a porch light. I don't even blame Bryn, not really. She didn't ask for any of it, but she got everything: the attention, the encouragement, the money, the praise. And I got the version of my parents that was left over after they'd already poured everything out. I was the responsible one. I got straight A's without being asked. I cleaned up without being told. I got a job at a diner when I was 15, saving every tip in a Ziploc bag, because I already knew, the way some kids just know things, that I was going to have to pay for my own college. When I brought my report card home with a 4, my dad looked at it for about 3 seconds and said, "Keep it up." When Bryn got a B+ in 6th grade math after struggling all semester, they took her out for ice cream and put her quiz on the refrigerator. I told myself it didn't hurt. I got really good at telling myself that. The birthday I want to tell you about was my 18th, a Saturday in October. I'd been looking forward to it, not in a big, greedy way. I wasn't expecting a party or a car or some grand gesture. I just wanted a day that felt like mine. A day where someone said, "Hey, we're glad you're here. We're glad you made it." That's all I wanted. I came downstairs at about 9 in the morning to find the kitchen smelling like sugar and vanilla. My mom was standing at the counter piping frosting onto a 2-layer cake, and Bryn was sitting on the bar stool watching her with this excited, bouncing energy. There were streamers on the ceiling, pink and silver. My favorite colors, actually. For just 1 second, I thought maybe this is it. Maybe they remembered. My mom looked up, saw me, and smiled. "Bryn, honey, come see, it's done." She stepped back so my sister could see the cake. On top, in careful cursive letters, it read, "Happy Sweet 16, Bryn." I stood there in my socks on the cold tile floor. Bryn was turning 16 in 11 days. Nobody said a word to me. My dad walked in from the garage, took one look at the cake, and said, "Oh, that's perfect, Lynn." He kissed my mom on the cheek. I was standing 4 feet away. It took another full minute before my mom glanced over and said, "Oh, Callie, you're up. There's coffee." I didn't cry. I poured myself a cup of coffee, went upstairs, and sat on the edge of my bed staring at my hands. Downstairs, I could hear them laughing. Candles being counted, plates clattering. My 18th birthday, and they were setting up for my sister's party. I didn't say anything that day. I learned a long time ago that bringing up the invisible hurt never went the way I hoped. My mom would get defensive. My dad would go quiet. And somehow, by the end of the conversation, I'd be apologizing for making them feel bad. So I smiled at dinner. I ate the pasta. I did not get a slice of cake, because the cake was for Bryn's party that weekend, and they needed it whole. That night I thought about a lot of things. I thought about the college applications I'd been working on alone, using the library computers because we only had one laptop and Bryn got priority since she needed it for school projects. I thought about the dress I'd worn to junior prom that I bought with my own money, because my mom said they were a little tight that month. I thought about every teacher conference my parents skipped and every game where the bleachers were empty. And then I thought, I'm 18 now. I can leave. I didn't leave that night. I was practical about it. I had $1,400 saved in that Ziploc bag, and I spent the next 3 weeks quietly applying to colleges in other states and looking up dorm availability. I told no one. I just kept going to work, kept getting good grades, kept being the version of myself that nobody in that house seemed to notice. Then I got my acceptance letter from the University of Tennessee's honors program. Full need-based financial aid package, almost everything covered. I found out on a Tuesday afternoon through an email on my phone in the diner parking lot after a double shift. I read it 4 times. I sat in my car and let myself cry, just for a minute, and then I straightened up because there was nobody to celebrate with and I still had school tomorrow. I gave my parents 2 weeks' notice, like I was an employee. I wrote it in a letter I left on the kitchen table on a Wednesday morning before they woke up. I explained where I was going, that I had a full scholarship, that I'd be fine. I told them I loved them and I hoped we could rebuild something better from a distance. My dad called that afternoon. He didn't say congratulations. He said, "You didn't even discuss this with us. That's incredibly selfish, Callie." I told him I'd learned from the best. And I hung up. I moved into my dorm in August. For the first month, I didn't hear much, a few stiff texts from my mom asking if I was eating. Then the calls stopped completely. I figured they were angry. I gave them space. What I didn't give them was permission to contact my school's financial aid office and report what they called inconsistencies in my application. I found out from my aid advisor, a kind woman named Dr. Okafor, who called me in to tell me that someone had submitted paperwork claiming I was still a dependent in their household, which would have wiped out a significant portion of my aid package. My parents had submitted documents. Official-looking ones. I sat across from Dr. Okafor and felt something turn to stone in my chest. She helped me dispute it. It took 6 weeks of paperwork, phone calls, notarized letters. I had to prove that I was financially independent, which I was, and that their claim was inaccurate. I won, but I lost a semester's worth of mental peace doing it. Some nights I'd be up at 2 a.m. going over documents while my roommate slept, and I'd think, what kind of parents do that? What kind of people try to pull the floor out from under their child? The kind who'd rather you fail than succeed without them. I didn't talk about it. Not to friends. Not to anyone. I just kept going. I got a part-time job at the campus IT help desk. I joined a study group that slowly became the first real friend group I'd ever had. I called my grandmother in Morgantown sometimes, my mom's mother, who never treated me like a consolation prize. She'd listen and say, "You keep going, baby girl. You just keep going." By the end of my freshman year, my GPA was a 3.9. I'd been invited to apply for a competitive internship program in Nashville, and a professor had asked me to contribute to a research paper she was publishing on first-generation college students and institutional barriers. My parents found out I was doing well. I don't know how small towns talk. My mom sent me a Facebook message that said, "Heard you're doing okay up there. Bryn got into community college. We're really proud of her." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I archived it without responding. The following spring, something shifted in me. I got tired of carrying around the anger in secret. I decided I was going to write about it not as a way to hurt anyone, but because I needed to put it somewhere outside of my own body. I started a blog. Nothing fancy, just a free site. I wrote honestly about growing up in a house where love felt conditional, about putting yourself through college on tips and dining hall shifts, about what it means to succeed in spite of people who were supposed to be your foundation. Within 3 months, over 40,000 people had read my posts. Women mostly. A lot of them leaving comments that said things like, "This is my life." I thought I was alone. I've never seen someone describe my childhood so exactly. "How did you get out?" I answered every single one. One of those readers turned out to be a producer for a podcast about family estrangement. She reached out. We talked for 2 hours, and she asked if I'd come on as a guest. That episode became one of their most downloaded ever. My parents heard it. My aunt texted me a screenshot of my mom's Facebook status. "People only share one side of the story. We know the truth." I thought about responding. I had plenty to say. But I realized something in that moment. I didn't need to win the argument. I'd already won the life. That's the thing nobody tells you about getting out. The escape isn't the ending. It's barely the beginning. The real work is what comes after relearning how to trust people. How to accept love that doesn't come with a price tag. How to stop apologizing for taking up space. I still flinch sometimes when I get a compliment. I still catch myself making myself smaller in rooms. Those habits don't disappear overnight. But here's what else doesn't disappear. The version of you that decided to keep going anyway. I'm 23 now. I graduated with honors. I'm working in healthcare communications and living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Knoxville that I chose and pay for myself. I have a cat named Clementine who is deeply mean to everyone except me. I have a handful of friends who would drive through the night if I called them. I have my grandmother, who still calls every Sunday, and always says, "Tell me something good." My parents and I don't have a relationship right now. Not a real one. There have been olive branches, awkward phone calls around Christmas, a birthday card this year that was just signed Mom and Dad with no message inside. I don't know if we'll ever find our way back to something real. I'm open to it, if it ever comes with honesty and accountability. But I'm not waiting for it. And Bryn, we text sometimes. She's grown up a lot. She told me recently that she always knew something was off, that she felt guilty about it for years. I told her she didn't owe me that guilt. She was a kid too. What happened wasn't her fault any more than it was mine. I wrote this because I know you're out there. The one who learned to disappear just to survive your own home. The one who memorized the way people's moods shifted so you could adjust yourself accordingly. The one who got really good at being grateful for scraps because at least scraps were something. You deserved the whole table. You still do. The hardest thing I ever did wasn't leave. It was choosing to believe, every single day, that I was worth the life I was building, even when the people who were supposed to believe it first never did. Your story isn't over. Mine sure isn't. And the beautiful thing about getting out? You finally get to decide what happens next.